Yes. AGUA Special Utility District, regular called board meeting for December 5th, 2022, at 6:02. Item number 1, roll call, call to order. Dr. Adriana Flores Villarreal.
Here.
Jose Luis Ochoa.
Here.
Ricardo Perez.
Here.
Homero Tijerina.
Here.
Ana Maria Perez.
Present.
Narciso Solis.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Item number 2, item B, invocation. It's going to be given by Mrs. Pam Perez.
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Item 1C, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One D, public comments. Do we have any public comments at the moment?
Madam President, we do not have any public comments at this time.
Okay. Item 2, discussion and possible action on amending of non-standard service agreement for water service to be submitted to Carlos Leal for the cost related to water service for Las Comadres number 11 subdivision. Do we have any questions or discussion on this item?
Madam President, the engineer is not here right now, but basically the developer for Las Comadres 11 subdivision, Mr. Carlos Leal, has complied with AGUA SUD requirements to proceed with the NSSA contract. Their information was submitted to the district attorney, and the agreement of the 30-year letter has been prepared. Of course, we have this item under this agenda. So basically, this development consists of 68 lots encompassing of 40.85 acres. And of course, the property is owned by Mr. Carlos Leal. There's an existing 8-inch water line running north and south along the west side of Dolphin Road. The developer is proposing to service the development by connecting to the aforementioned water main and extending an 8-inch water line towards the west along the south side of the proposed internal roadway via a proposed 15-foot exclusive AGUA SUD easement. From there on, the water line will be extended around the development and to provide an internal loop system. The proposed residential lots will be serviced via proposed 1-inch service connections fitted with a 3/4-inch domestic water meters. Staff recommends approval of this subdivision. Of course, this is an amendment for the subdivision. The subdivision was presented before, and everything is in compliance for approval.
Water pressure and everything good?
Yes, yes, it was checked through the water model by Melvin Hunt.
Good.
So move.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Tijerina, and we have a second by Mr. Perez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water service to be submitted to Manuel Garza, Post 3895, VFW of the United States for the cost related to water service for Macias subdivision. Any questions or discussions?
Yes, Mr. Emilio Salinas is here. We'll be presenting this item.
Okay.
Good evening, board members. Milo Salinas with M2 Engineering, District Engineer. So this subdivision here consists of one lot within 0.91 acres, and it's located on the south side of Interstate 2, which is Expressway 83, approximately half a mile east of Coyote Avenue in La Joya, Texas. It's basically proposing to use the existing water meter, and based on the hydraulic model, it's within the requirements, and we recommend approval.
That lot never had a meter?
That already had an existing meter.
Oh, it had a meter?
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, anybody opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Perez and a second from Mr. Tijerino. Motion carries. Item number four, discussion and possible action on employee health insurance plan as presented by Barrett Insurance Services and Newkirk. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, Madam President, we have Mr. Pierre here representing Barrett Insurance Services and Newkirk for a presentation.
Good evening, Madam President, board members. My name is Pierre Newkirk, and I'm here to discuss the last board meeting that we all had. There was a hiccup in the proposal that we had originally gave to you all. So there are.
Can we have those documents?
Yes, did you?
Yes.
Are they in their packet?
They're bringing the
Okay.
copies.
Well, I've got them here.
You
Here,
have copies? We got them.
So to kind of give you a background on how insurance companies come up with plan designs, they have to submit them to Texas Department of Insurance typically a year in advance. And so what happens is that insurance companies don't actually train their representatives because they have no idea what the plans look like until the last quarter of the year. Well, because you all, AGUA, is a 1-1, the representatives from the insurance carriers don't get a full-blown education about how their plans function, work, and so on and so forth. So we go off of a grid sheet that tells us all the different plans and the pricing, but it doesn't get into absolute specifics of the plan design. So originally, on page 1, this is what we brought to you all, which is your Blue Cross and Blue Shield comparison, what your current rates were at the time. We did have, let me back up for a minute, we did have 4 carriers that came in along with Aetna Healthcare, which was Chubb, Cigna Healthcare, Humana, and United Healthcare, which none of these carriers are in dollar and benefit comparisons to the Aetna Healthcare. So the first page that I'm giving you is your actual current with Blue Cross and Blue Shield and your renewal with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So by doing absolutely nothing, your rate goes from $637 to $808 on the employee only. So this is what made us go out for different carriers. Any questions on page 1?
Sir, so when you say current, you mean before the
So
plan that
before
was
the
adopted?
renewal plan, so your current benefits are as of today, back in,
Well, no, that's the point I'm getting.
sure,
So when you say current, it's not the plan that was just recently enrolled.
that is correct. Your current,
It was pre-current.
pre-current, there you go,
All right, got it.
pre-current. So now knowing, because even when we went out for proposals, we had no idea what your renewal looked like because Blue Cross, they hadn't prepared it for you all to look at. So it wasn't until after the fact that we found out what your renewal numbers look like, which are absolutely horrible. Any questions? All right, yes, sir.
On the current, at the very bottom where it says employee, family, and the amount they have there, is that?
That's including the employee and the
Right.
wife and children.
But that amount is monthly?
That is monthly. These premiums are monthly premiums, okay? So AGUA was paying 100% of your $637.28 for every employee only. So you take the $638 minus the $1,900 or the $1,100 or the $1,400, and that's what the employees would be paying out of their pocket for employee coverage plus dependents.
So to renew, it's gonna go up, it would go up to 2,500, 2,506?
That is correct, sir.
For-
If you stayed with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, those are your, if the same plan design, nothing changes, just the money goes up.
Yeah, and of course, our SUD only pays for the employee
Correct.
only.
But that's monthly.
Monthly.
Those are monthly rates, correct. Let's go to page 2. There's no other questions. So on page 2, what we ended up doing, once we gathered the information, we came up with the Aetna plan with your comparison, along with the GAP company. Basically, what we do is we take a $5,000 deductible. The maximum out of pocket on that particular plan was $7,150. We brought in a second insurance carrier, which is SIS, combination. So therefore, if your employee ended up in the hospital and whatnot, their maximum out of pocket exposure would be the $150, which is left of exposure. So therefore, whether it be on an inpatient basis or on an outpatient basis, that employee's obligation total on that particular floor plan was only $150. The rate difference, and again on the left-hand side is your current, on the right-hand side is the alternative with the Aetna plan. This is what we presented to you all. So it was $541.13 all in. That included the medical and the GAP combined. So a considerable difference, and it was a no-brainer that that is definitely the best way for AGUA along with the employees.
Were there any other insurance carriers that had benefits that matched Blue Cross Blue Shield besides just the straight renewal with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Absolutely. Like I had mentioned prior, it's Cigna, Humana, and United Healthcare.
And they all exceeded the $808 that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The other difference here is also the deductible.
Yes. So
Yes,
on the plan on the right, on the Aetna plan, it's got a $5,000 deductible with a maximum of $7,150. If you look to the right-hand side, you see at the very top it says GAP plan, and then it says $7,000. So that insurance company, if I as an employee go to the hospital there for 3 days, 5 days, a week, doesn't matter. My total obligation on the medical plan is $7,150, but by me purchasing the additional GAP company for the $7,000, it takes care of my $7,000 obligation to the hospital. So the only out-of-pocket that I would have is $150.
But that's out of pocket. How about the deductible? You still gotta match it. And
What-
then last year, Robert, we didn't have the GAP plan, right?
Right.
We were trying to get within the budget.
That is
Correct.
correct. That is correct.
So I put it all together. So the deductible and the co-insurance amount, the maximum exposure is $7,150. Okay? So the GAP company covers you $7,000. So again, my maximum exposure, including the deductible and the co-insurance, is $7,150. So therefore, that's how we put them together. So therefore, the employee only has a max out-of-pocket of $150. Is that clear or not? If not, I'll try and do it a different way. Okay. Turn the page for me. That plan is non-existent. At the time when we went with Aetna, the specialist copay and the pharmacy copay went toward the deductible. If we would have known that from day one, we would have never have presented that plan to you all, because it's not a plan that is equal to the benefit of your current Blue Cross and Blue Shield. We found a second alternative plan with Aetna. Now that we have the SBCs, go to page 2.1, please. Again, on the left-hand side is your current Blue Cross and Blue Shield benefit. On the right-hand side is the $5,000 deductible with Aetna. The max out of pocket is $6,600. And again, we're going to put the GAP, Go to page 3. Sorry, I lost y'all. Page 3. Left side is your renewal with Blue Cross. In the middle is your current benefit. And on the right-hand side is the Aetna plan that has got a $5,000 deductible, a 70% coinsurance, maximum exposure of $6,600. If you look to the right, you have a $7,000 gap, which is going to cover 100% of the employee's full-blown obligation for hospitalization, whether it's inpatient or outpatient. Let's talk about that for a second. If I go to the hospital, I already know I'm covered at 100% because I've got a $7,000 gap that's going to cover my $6,600 exposure. But let's just say that one of your employees decides to go get an MRI done on an outpatient basis. He or she still has that $7,000 that is going to go toward something non-emergency. So in other words, I don't have to go to the hospital for the plan to work for me. I can stay inpatient and or on an outpatient basis. Any questions so far?
It only applies once, though.
Right.
So in other words, it only applies. Let's say that you use the entire $7,000 towards outpatient services, MRIs, mammograms, sonograms, whatnot.
Yep.
Once that $7,000 is spent, and then you go to the hospital, you're going to have to you're going to have to pay your $6,600.
No, you're covered at 100% because you've already met your max out of pocket, which is your deductible and your coinsurance of $6,600.
So you
So
can
it doesn't
go
matter how you meet it.
You can go multiple times to the hospital
You
and
can
be
go
covered.
1,000 times.
You're going to be covered.
Yep. Any time that any employee hits the max out of pocket, which is $6,600, whether it's on an inpatient basis or an outpatient basis, they've already met their max out of pocket. Anything after that fact, any office visit, any drug, any hospitalization, anything is absolutely free because
How
they've
about,
met their obligation.
Including co-pays at doctor's office.
Including co-pays at doctor's office. Once you've met your max out of pocket, zero. Cost to you.
How about in-network and out-network?
Strictly in network with the Aetna network. There is no out-of-network benefit.
Okay.
Has to go within the Aetna network only.
Okay.
Every hospital in the valley is included. We have provided, here, let's go down the list real quick from at the very top on the alternative plan where it says Aetna. So right after, so you got a $40 copay for any office visit. Now, with Aetna, and we say this, there are the $40 copay if you go to an Aetna in-network provider. If they do any x-rays and labs in office and bill it through the office, that's all they pay is the $40. Okay? That's through the medical plan. But let's just say my doctor does not have an x-ray machine or an MRI machine or a lab facility. He's got to send me to a lab facility. No problem. Remember your GAP company? You got $7,000 to go spend for anything dealing outside that office visit. Freestanding facilities. Whether it's an x-ray, an MRI, blood work, whatever the case scenario is. So the employee's covered on either side. Okay? Any questions?
What if I didn't purchase the gap insurance? What if I didn't purchase the gap?
Then you would be subject to your deductible and your coinsurance amount, your max out of pocket of $6,600. And I've got examples of that. I just want to go through this real quick and then we'll look at other options as well. With Aetna, Teledoc is absolutely free. You can call the doctor every day, 5 times a day if you want, whether it's psychological or a regular office visit or a specialist visit or any kind of doctor you want through telemedicine. There is zero copay, no deductible, nothing. Absolutely free. Underneath there, we don't have them here yet, but as what Aetna's saying, they have a direct impact with CVS, the pharmacists. So if you leave the valley, for example, just starting out in Corpus, San Antonio, and up northern, you have CVS pharmacies that have physician offices inside the pharmacy. zero copay. You go in, go to full-blown physical exam, whatever it is, absolutely at no cost. Supposedly they're going to start them here January, February-ish in the local CVS pharmacies. Okay? That's an added benefit that your Blue Cross plan did not have. If you go to a specialist, there is a $70 copay. Again, $70 for a specialist only. Your regular copay is $40 for a non-specialist. Any questions?
How do they go about claiming that gap? They have to submit it, the employee does?
There's two ways. So we have a lot of the hospitals, like DHR is real good at taking what we call an absolute assignment of benefit. So SIS will work with either the hospital or with the individual. This is hospitalization, whether it's on an inpatient basis or outpatient only. That's when the gap company would kick in. So there's a form, just like any other claim form. I pay, if I go to the hospital, let's run a real quick scenario. I go in, had an accident, heart attack, whatever the case scenario is. They admit me to the hospital. I'm there 3-4 days. When I check out, I have to make a financial obligation to the financial institution. Hey, I promise to pay you, whether it's $50 a month or $10 a month or whatever the case scenario is, I have to sign an IOU to them. What we need in order to help the employee collect on the gap coverage, we're going to need the bill. We're going to need the EOB, the explanation of benefits from any carrier, doesn't matter who it is, but in this case it's going to be Aetna, and the claim form. We send those 3 items to SIS 7 to 10 business days. They get a check in the mail made out to them. If we didn't use the direct payment to the facility and or physicians. So assignment of benefit, or you collect the money. Any questions? Okay. Drugs, that's the next item. All generic drugs with this Aetna plan have a no deductible, okay, for all generic drugs. You do have copays, $3, $10, and $90, depending on what tier of generic formula is given. All other drugs have a one-time annual deductible of $200. So the maximum on all other than generic drugs is $200. Then my copays start, $50, $90, $150, and $300. Again, depending on what tier of drugs we're dealing with. If you look over all the way to the left, or either in the middle or in the front, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield, you had 0 copays all the way to $250. The only difference is they didn't have a deductible on their prescription drug. We do on this particular plan, but it's only on the non-generic formularies. Okay? The urgent care facility is $100. Hospitalization is a $500 copay plus 30% of your coinsurance. The medical rate only is $497. The gap combined with the medical is $615.19 employee only. If you look to the middle column, that is what you're currently paying, $637.28. If you take the medical rate and the gap, it's $615. Turn the page for me real quick. So there is your savings. It's $1,571.66 a month. And at the end of the year, it's $18,859 annual savings from what you're currently paying. The only difference between the current plan of Blue Cross is that as an employee, I have a $4,500 obligation, max out of pocket, right now with Blue Cross. By going with the Aetna and the gap combination, the employee reduces their risk to only a $200 annual max out of pocket because of the drugs. Any questions?
And that can't be claimed with the gap.
No, we didn't add it to it. It'd be more expensive. Now, let's turn the pages. In our workshop development, where we discovered and explained and whatnot, there was some questions about possible alternatives instead of Agua picking up 100% of the bill for the major medical and the gap. What we did is, this is an employer-sponsored plan. So 51% or more that Agua must pay for the gap coverage. So if you all wanted to reduce your costs, you could cost share the gap costs with your employees. Not the medical, just the gap. So if we wanted to look,
How much savings will we do by doing that?
okay, I did some numbers down here. These are all, this particular one sheet of 3.2 on the bottom, this is a composite rate. So I'm taking all your young ones and all your old ones, add them up and divide it by the number of folks. That's how we get this rate of $118.19, right there in the middle of the page where the P starts for sponsored. You'll see that rate. It's $118. Now, if I take 51% of the gap, therefore it would leave my, if you go back 3/4 of the way of the page down, it says proposed employer contribution, that's 51%. The employee, all the way to the right, 49% of their obligation would be $57.91 per month. If you drop down all the way to the bottom, the payroll deductions based off of 26 pay periods. So if I wanted to cost share the gap, it cost me as an employee $26.73. So again, just to clarify, right now today you all are spending $637.28. Me as an employee, I've got a $4,500 obligation. If we leave it all the same, you move to the plan that I'm designated to you all, the employee comes out with a no out-of-pocket other than the $200 because of the pharmacy, you're still saving $18,859 a year.
If we
A
take,
year.
if we take out the gap, let the employee take care of that, how much will we save? Only the medical, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You know, you would save, well, you got your,
Is almost going to be around $98,000 that we save yearly if we take out the,
$98,000.
yeah.
So the question is here to the board that either we want to supply the employee with the gap or they get it on their own. Right?
absolutely, that's up to you all. But before we go there, let me keep flipping pages because I've got alternatives. I was waiting for that one as well.
$98,000?
Yes, absolutely. No, I've got other alternative plans. So the employees right now are used to a $1,500 deductible, okay? With a maximum exposure of $4,500, okay? They're currently right now, they're experiencing no out of cost for the premium. Everybody got that, right? All right, let's flip the page real quick. So this other one here, if I, Agua, are only going to pay for the medical, there's your rate. Employee only, $497. This now is no longer an employer-sponsored gap plan. So now I have tiers, age tiers. So the very first block is 39 years of age and younger. My gap rate is $92.64. So together, the total premium would be $589.64. This is if Agua only strictly pays for the medical. My age group, 39 or younger, I'd be paying $92.64. If I'm 40 to 49, I'm at 123.80. If I'm 50 and above, it's 198.57. That would be my gap cost. And then everything under there, the spouse, the children, and family, there's your breakdown if they decided to purchase the gap for their dependents and so on and so forth.
I'd like to know, has there been, like, the history on the employees? Have they used it a lot? Hear from them. Have they had a lot of hospitalizations? Is this something that, do you have statistics on how we've used, or how a breakdown of?
I haven't had the privilege of having your plan from last year. I just got hired this particular year.
To see how much of it was used last year.
We did have claims.
Yeah, wouldn't you have like the runs and the things?
You had about 5 major claims. One of them that really brought in the rates. Your claim ratio was just incredible because of a handful. You had a lot of 20,000 and less in claims. You had probably 15 participants. But out of the 15, 5 of your claimants were just astronomical claims. But those were catastrophic claims. It's not going to come back again.
Those are 50 and over.
Correct. Yeah.
From my understanding.
Yes.
Which employees? We can't discuss it, but.
Right.
So
But you had some utilization.
So our SUD would have the right to say, we're gonna offer without gap,
Yes.
and say gap for no one, instead of leaving the individual employee to select, I want gap, or others to say, I don't want gap. We as a company can say,
Yes.
no gap
Absolutely.
for anyone.
That's why I prepared the voluntary gap costs, so that you can get a sense of what it would cost that employee if they wanted to add the gap. Now, with that said, let's move to the next page, please.
Have we surveyed the employees to see,
There's a committee of employees that have met.
and what has been their consensus? Like, they are for the gap?
Well, the thing is that we already had our open enrollment, so employees already came and elected supplemental insurances, and now, because they weren't aware that they might have the possibility of having to pay for the gap. So now it's something that we would need to communicate to the rest of the employees, and maybe now they're not gonna elect those supplementals, depending on what's decided tonight.
Now, let me, so as far as the agenda today, what's before the board for decision today is what plan to approve as far as whether or not the district wants to have employees pay a certain part or some percentage. That's really not even on the agenda today. That's something that could be discussed at a later time. So all that we're talking about today is what options that are being provided by our insurance agent of record, what options to choose from, and then, like I said, then the board can decide the employees are going to participate in this amount or not.
But before we choose the options, we need to know the details.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
No, that's exactly right. I'm just saying what you don't have to decide today that we're going to have the employees pay all the gap, or we're not going to offer, or we're going to pay it all ourselves. That's something that can be decided.
So we're not deciding on a plan right now?
Well, we're deciding on a plan, but we're not deciding how much the employees may or may not pay for that plan. We're going to pick a plan, and then we can decide whether or not the.
But that includes the gap also.
Yeah,
Right.
so that we don't
So
have any
either-
feedback on
Yeah.
what they feel about in the gap.
Okay, now, so what happened, and how this presentation started, is that the previous board has already adopted a plan that has this gap measure included. So that has already been decided.
Okay.
What happened was, and I didn't really understand the details of what the confusion was, but that choice was already made, but there's some adjustments to the pricing. Essentially, if I understand right, before we thought the board was the district would save like $80,000 a year by going with this gap plan.
Yes.
But now it's only $18,000.
That is correct.
Okay.
Same identical plan.
Yeah.
The only difference is money.
But
because of
savings
the
are
way
there.
that.
There was a
So we're
mistake.
trying to
That's-
get more
Right.
money back returned, because 80,000 was what we thought we were gonna be saving, and now it went down to 18.
That's correct.
Because of a mistake.
That's correct.
What mistake was
So does that mean that no modifications can take place at this time?
That's a question I would like to ask the gentleman, because we've already switched. I mean, so our plan date is, we've already switched.
Right. We have to have a plan tonight.
Right.
Because we go live January 1st with Aetna. Whether you guys want to approve no gap company, that's up to you all. I'm just giving you the alternatives of what other options we can look at to pick a plan. But keep this in mind. I understand you're not going to save that 80,000. You're still saving $18,900. That is fact.
Can you explain what the mistake was?
Yes. So when the reps get trained, they get trained when they call them explanation of benefits. The problem is when we were discussing the plan designs, they didn't have them out yet. So we get a grid sheet that tells us what the costs are, but it doesn't get into the specifics of the plan. Like we had no idea that the specialist copay of $70 was going to go toward the deductible. Because on the plan grid, it doesn't say it. It just says a copay $70. And the drug, it says $200 deductible, and then here's your copays. That's all it says. But when we actually did the enrollment is when, wait a minute, you guys know that that all goes toward the deductible. That's not what you told us. Well, that's what we had at the time when we made the decision to put the plans on the grid sheet to come to you all and say, hey, by the way, this is the best idea. If not, if I would have known that then, I would have, why even bring it up? That's not even an option. We would have gone with this particular plan.
So
But
Blue Cross Blue Shield is
unfortunately,
the one that made the mistake.
Aetna, she did not have all the proper information, the Aetna rep, unfortunately. And that's the way, that's the only guidance that we get is from the representatives from the insurance companies.
So Aetna's the one that made the error? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So why are we discussing Aetna then?
'Cause yeah,
Because we don't have another choice as far as carriers. Everybody else is just more expensive.
So since their employees have already enrolled, is there gonna have to be a re-enrollment?
Yes, we have to actually have to do a re-enrollment either Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, or Thursday, Friday of this week. Everything is also on a system with you all. We're giving you this benefit administrative system. So everything's already loaded. All we need to go is go back and say, okay, here's the twitches that have happened. And so we need to clarify with the employees of, we're coming back in here to, you not going to be able to afford because you're going to pay for some of this or you're going to do some of this. That's what I need to know is what plan are we going with? If we're going to stay with what we had agreed on, the only difference is you're not getting a $79,000 savings, you're getting an $18,900. Nothing changes, we're good.
Matt, on the
Yes, sir.
agenda item, is basically we're amending the agenda item, the health insurance, because it's already been approved. The health insurance been approved previously.
It has.
Yeah, so it's basically, it should be reading or worded somewhere in there, amending the health insurance.
Well, let me ask this. So the plan that you have presented is the exact same plan that was already approved. It's just a different cost.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is someone going to present this to the employees that are actually affected?
All of us.
Well, so
Will be-
Shouldn't they have been here? You know, just
No,
listening to
because-
all of this?
Well,
Well, we have, HR.
the re-enrollment's gonna happen again. So if there's any change at all, which there are,
They'll have
because,
choices.
right, because now it's gonna be less out of pocket for the employee because of the $200 deductible for the drug card. Instead of the extra $150 that they also had because of the coinsurance. So basically it got better for the employee in a nutshell.
there's
So
no
they're not gonna
additional
be too
cost.
upset.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That was my concern, like, oh, you know, we're changing this and then they're gonna get to pay more.
But it's, no,
if
but it's gonna
less,
be
then-
it's, if you leave it the way It is the employees coming out ahead of the game. You all are coming out ahead of the game because you're only saving, and I hate to say it again, you're only saving $17,900 from what you're currently spending now. That's the whole deal. Because right now you're spending more for less. Because you got to think of as that employee. if I go to the hospital today, I got a $4,500 max out of pocket right here, right now, today. With the plan, the new plan, you're out $200 because of the drug.
Who's covering the cost of the great overhead?
We are.
Yeah, that's not gonna be built out.
No, sir. That would be my recommendation, is to take the plan, let's implement it, and move on.
Well, I like the GAP plan. I really think it will benefit the employees, because those deductibles, I know I took my daughter for a dog bite. I thought it was an urgent care at the hospital, and they're still billing us like $4,000.
Any questions?
If the board is interested in hearing any, or has any questions for legal counsel regarding our options at this particular point, then the board could entertain a motion to move this item to executive session. We can discuss it along with the others, and then the board can make a decision afterwards, but that's within the discretion of the board.
I so move to move it to executive. I'd like to have them kind of there with us so that we can talk about the
I second that.
actual money would
Okay, the
cost.
employees can't be in on executive session.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, so-
that's legal.
Robert-
Robert
oh,
can,
yes.
who's an employee,
Yeah.
as
Who
a general
cannot?
manager.
Okay.
But outside of that, it would be legal counsel and the general manager.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a
Yeah.
second.
So we have a motion by Ms. Ana Maria Perez and a second by Dr. Flores Villarreal. Anybody opposed?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5, discussion and possible action regarding proposed vendor agreement with Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for the water payment assistance, a low-income home water assistance program.
Madam President, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Any
Got
questions?
too excited.
Discussions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Madam President, this is an agreement that has been proposed by the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs to assist and really just administer our low-income water assistance program. Okay, so right now we have an agreement with Hidalgo County that administers that program. It's a somewhat cumbersome program for clients of AGUA SUD, customers of AGUA SUD to go through. The state, which actually provides the funding for the county plan, has a website that makes it really easy for them to go in and make an application and really streamlines the process. And so it's our recommendation that we go ahead. There's no cost to AGUA SUD with regards to this particular program. It's just merely provides customers that might qualify for this plan with an easier way to get online and apply for those benefits. There's a standard contract that there's a proposed contract. When I say proposed, it's the standard state contract for all government entities that qualify for this particular plan that's in your packet. There's one line item change that we would need to make as a district, and that has to do with rates. The contract that they have assumes that we fall under the regulations of PUC, which we don't, and so we'd make a change to that. But it's our recommendation that we approve this item subject to recommended amendment by legal counsel.
How are we advertising this to our
That's a good question.
We either can do it via a website, or we can do it as a one-to-one basis through customer service.
okay. I'd like to see that on the website and also any social media. I don't know who handles our social media, but I think it's a great opportunity for us to expose our customers to this benefit.
Sounds good.
Will there be any type of assistance to those that are having trouble accessing it, because I know that sometimes the community, they're not very fluent, they're not very, you know, with computers. Will someone be available to assist?
So it's a state-run program. If of course, if anybody comes into the district or makes a phone call in the district, we'll certainly let them know, you know, where they can go, and to the extent that there's a language translation issue, we would help any customer out, just like we would, you know, on any other non-English speaking, you know, customer that had difficulty and whatnot. But as far as like the plan itself, that's not something, that's one of the benefits of it. You know, it's not like AGUA SUD incurs the cost of maintaining the website, maintaining the databases, and cross-checking. That's something that the state runs. This is just them providing us access to it. And so really it's a no-cost issue for the district. It's just a benefit that we can, it's a state benefit that we've got the ability to provide access to our customers.
That's really good, but advertising it and on social media and doing everything that Ms. Bettis mentioned, automatically that's going to get a lot of parents to kind of call AGUA SUD for assistance. Like, can you answer this question? You know, that's
right. I got you.
So that's where my question was coming from. Like, you know.
Okay.
And so when they get online, it's not going to be in Spanish, just English?
You should have it in Spanish.
Oh, you're not familiar with it?
I don't know.
I know that, was it the gentleman that presented last time here and gave us that? No, he was from the county.
That's the county. That's
Right.
the county.
But
We already have an agreement with the county. And they did provide a training to our staff to help customers.
So it said the link would be directly to that site where the customers could just fill it out. And then it does the cross-referencing like you mentioned.
It's a different program. Instead of applying through the county, they would apply through the state. The money comes from the same. So if they applied for the county, which I understand is a little bit less efficient, well then the county goes and gets the money from the state. So in this way, it comes directly from the state. And as it's been explained to us, it's just a lot easier.
Sounds like it.
Less difficult process than to go through the county.
That's only for a year, right?
Yeah, it's a one-year contract.
I was gonna say, or maybe like on the actual bill itself, and they could put a little note or something. I don't know if they can do that.
On the
Announcing this, like Texas Utility
Yes,
Help.
we have a certain space that we can add messages through the bill.
this program now available or something to that effect.
That's really good.
This is Jaron Hutchins with DNS, and my apologies. All of a sudden, my camera stopped working. But I just wanted to point out that the district can provide individuals that are interested in the program with the link to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and at that link, it does have the whole process in Spanish as well.
Thank you.
Jaron works with me in our office, so that mystery voice that just came out of nowhere.
I was wondering.
Thank you, Jaron.
Thanks, Jaron.
Thank you, sir.
So if the board wants to consider it, then we just need a motion to approve.
I so move. I second.
So we have a motion by Dr. Villarreal and second by Ms. Ana Maria Perez. Motion carries.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay, item number 6, discussion and possible action authorizing the general manager to advertise for competitive bids for the Liberty Road Water Line Improvement Project. Any questions or discussions on this?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, the Texas Department of Transportation with the county are working on the widening of Liberty Road between US 83 and 3 Mile Line. We are here seeking authorization to solicit for bids to make improvements on those segments of the roadway. We're looking into installing approximately 1,200 feet of 8-inch water line, and also installing 16-inch casing on that segment. Attached, you have a layout on that item that shows the improvements that we're seeking to construct on Liberty Road before the widening of the roadway takes place. M2 Engineering helped us with the plans and specifications for this, and so we're ready to solicit for bids. On this project, the approximate cost for this project will be approximately between $150,000 and $200,000.
Yes, that's the estimate that we had done, right when the prices had gone up. One thing that I just do want to mention is, in that particular section, there is some caliche, very hard material. So, that's one of the reasons that we're bidding it out is, that we know for sure it's gonna be more than 50,000, so, we just have to see how the bids come up.
Yeah, because we were gonna do it in-house.
Yes.
Or part of it, just try and save money, stay within the budget.
But there was a subdivision that came in, and it was, approximately 1,200 feet of water line, and, from what we were told from that contractor, their backhoe, wasn't worth anything anymore towards the end because of the hard material. So, that's why we're asking to advertise. Plans and specifications are complete, and there was, originally, other water lines that were part of the plans, but as development came in, they're basically installing those sections, which is, south of, basically from expressway to the irrigation canal going north, of Diamond. And so the majority of the improvements are, basically from Volcano to Mount Three on the Liberty Road.
Robert, the sponsor coming out of the impact fee,
It's a new water line, so yes.
Yes.
not other
Yes.
general operator.
TxDOT is not gonna reimburse us for that?
No, basically this is not a relocation. Basically, this is a new water line that we're installing, so that we can be there first, so that we can loop some of our water line system, and of course do some crossings before they come in, and to avoid a more costly.
Is that line gonna be on our easement or what easement?
So right now, the majority of what we have proposed on the plans is installing some steel casing where there's going to be intersections and any potential future development. And that way those steel casings are there to insert pipes and not have to open cut or bore, which will be more expensive. And so that's what we're trying to do, is trying to get ahead of it since this road widening is coming. And in addition to that, there are some water lines on the north side right before, south of Mount Three, that are having to get reinstalled with a casing wide enough to be outside of the parameters of the widening.
So some of the new board members, I'm gonna risk stepping on toes, with some of y'all may already know this, but there's certain dollar thresholds that the district has to go out for public bid on construction projects. Generally, it's $50,000. And so the board is not being asked today to approve that cost. All the board is being asked today is authorize the general manager and his staff to solicit bids on it. And then once those bids come back, then we'll bring that back to the board and say, hey, look, here's what we found out it's gonna cost. Would y'all approve that, on or against the recommendation of the staff? So all we're asking for today is authority to actually authorize the soliciting of bids.
Okay.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Tijerina and a second by Mr. Perez. Or Ms. Perez? Ms. Perez, okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, I'm doing my notes. Okay, item number 7, discussion and possible action on change of date for the January board meeting. Questions, discussion?
Yes, Madam President, attached, we have the month of January 2023. As we all know, we have the meetings on the first Monday of the month, which on January 2023 is going to fall on the, of course, the second, the day after New Year's. So we're recommending for that board meeting to be changed either to the week of the 9th or the week of the 16th of the month.
You don't wanna be here for yourself, right?
We thought about proposing 8 a.m. on January 2nd.
No, that's not nice.
So move.
Okay, well, so
Okay.
it's up to y'all which particular day.
Well, the 9th,
The 16th, I got the 16th.
The 16th?
I think 16th is better.
The 16th.
Doesn't matter to me.
So move.
Okay, so somebody would need to make a motion to move the January meeting to January.
I so move to move the January 2nd meeting to the 16th.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Ana Maria Perez, and we have a second by Dr. Villarreal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 8, discussion and possible action approving sale of district easements to County of Hidalgo with respect to construction of Liberty Road from mile 3 to mile 7 and authorizing general manager to execute all necessary documents.
Madam President, this item relates to 4 separate condemnation proceedings that are being brought, and there's some legal issues that I would like to be able to explain to the board members. It would be my recommendation that we move this item to executive session so I can give you some legal advice on where this stands and what options that we've got.
Make a motion to move item number 8 to executive session.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tijerina, and we have a second by Dr. Villarreal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, discussion and possible action on approval of a one-time supplement pay for AGUA SUD employees.
So move.
We have a motion by
Second.
Mr.
How much is it?
Well, that's why we were all waiting.
Madam President, members of the board, as we all know, the supplemental pay was included in the adoption of this year's budget, 2022. It's a $250 per employee for 64 employees, for a total amount of $17,813.86, and that's for a one-time supplemental pay for 64 employees at $250 per employee.
We do have one employee at part-time,
One employee part-time, yes, that is correct.
and we
So
still have it within the budget.
It'll be, yes, it'll be half of the supplemental pay if it's part-time.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Solis. Anybody have a second?
Second.
What about if someone retired in June? Would they qualify?
No. It's
Must
not
be
part.
present to win.
They have to be employed.
Yeah, they have to be employed.
That's after tax?
Currently.
Before tax?
Yes.
Currently employed.
That's before tax.
Huh?
Before tax.
So how much are they getting exactly?
It depends on the withholding per employee, but roughly maybe
300?
210. On,
400?
it's 250 before tax, roughly after tax per employee, about maybe 210, 220.
Like 70% or 70 to 80%.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Perez, okay, so we have Mr. Solis, he makes a motion, second by Ms. Ana Maria Perez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 10, General Manager's Report. Item number A, September financials.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, we have here Jaime Reina, Finance Director, and Mr. Carr, consultant, that will be reporting on the September financials.
Yes, board, these financials are prepared as of September 30th, 2022, or the end of the third quarter, so 75% of the year. If you could please turn your attention to the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. Here you'll see that the total operating revenues are at 80% of the year, which is slightly ahead of budget, and operating expenses are at 76%, which is 1% ahead of budget, but overall we are in line with our budget.
Very good, thank you. B, October financials.
If you could please also turn your attention to the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. Here, October is 83% of the year. Total operating revenues are at 88% of budget, so slightly ahead as well. Total operating expenses are at 85, but overall we're in line with our budget as well. So,
Any questions? Okay, C, third quarter investment report.
yes, board, the investment report is also as of third quarter. It measures the interest generated by our bank accounts. So for the third quarter, our bank accounts generated $36,700 worth of interest.
Okay. Questions? Okay, D, new director training?
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'm sure this is really applies to the newly elected and appointed board members. By statute, there are requirements that new directors go under a regimen of training that typically takes, well, there's a couple steps to it, but it typically takes a day and a half of in-person full training. That training is actually administered by myself and the mystery voice from the sky, Mr. Hutchins. It is required to, each director is required to undergo that training within 90 days of having taken the oath of office. So that puts us into January, early, I don't know, November, December, January, yeah. And we've got through the month of January. Now, the training is something that the location of the training and the actual timing of it, that's something that generally speaking the president will decide with consultation with those involved. In the past, what we've done is have that training section actually in our office in Austin. There's some pluses and minuses to that. Of course, scheduling this many board members at one time may be difficult. We can obviously do it here. You know, some of the advantages of doing it in Austin is that it takes you away from your work and you can more concentrate, you know, on what's going on. Things of that nature, but I just wanted y'all to be aware that that training session, so the training itself is pretty comprehensive. I mean, there is a ton of information for each of you to learn, and I'm talking about setting aside just actually understanding what a lift station is and, you know, things related to water infrastructure.
How many days?
What's that?
How many days will the training be?
Well, so there's two components of it. There's one part of it is an online training session that you do with the Attorney General's office, and that has to do with Open Meetings Acts and Public Records Acts, the Public Record Act. So you learn, you know, the process of setting the agenda, you know, what can be an executive session, what can't. Those types of things are done online, all right? So I think they're about 2 hours. I think they're about a 2 hour each. And then the other session has to do with, for instance, we will train each of you on our bylaws, our procurement rules, which are, you know, what the rules are when the district is going to approve and spend money, issues relating to ethics, issues relating, Jaron piped in here at any time, but essentially going through all the rules, the water code, all of the rules that apply to the governance of the district. And so that will be a full day session, and when I say full day, we're moving pretty quick from, you know, 8:30 in the morning until 5:30 that afternoon with lunch brought in. So I just wanted y'all to be aware that that's not a decision that y'all need to make now, but we'll be coordinating that. And, you know, ideally
we try to make it as fun as possible.
Yeah, we do. We try to make it entertaining to the best we can, but Section 42 of the Professional Procurement Act is quite a snoozer, but it's all important stuff. It really is.
Yes, sir.
Questions?
And we'll also provide, you know, at the end, each director will have a binder and a notebook that you'll have as an available resource that you can always look to if you have any questions, and, you know, so yeah, it'll be comprehensive.
If not, we get it, we're in violation of it.
That's correct. If a particular director didn't, you know, meet the training, you know, they would be subject to challenge as far as, you know, qualification and whatnot. So it's not just a check it off the box. As difficult as it is to find the time to schedule it, I think every one of you will walk out of there glad and understanding why the training takes place.
Yes, sir.
You've undertaken a very time-consuming and a very important job as new directors, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And you know, I consider my responsibility to make sure that y'all understand exactly what the rules are, and so y'all can do the best for the district. So President Diaz will be communicating with you guys on
Yeah.
options, on dates and whatnot. Like I said, generally we do it all together, but I don't recall having 4 new board members at one time, and so it may be difficult to coordinate that, but we will make it available to everybody. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns? No? Okay, item 10E, budget workshop.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board. We have a schedule for December 8th at 5:30 for the budget workshop as of today. And of course, we're going to be covering the rate study, the capital improvement projects, impact fees, water rights, and of course the revenue and expenses, which is the bulk of the budget meeting. Now, that's the date that we have set, and we have posted that also already. So if there's any changes, of course, we can change it and cancel for Thursday in the afternoon, and just to see the consensus of the board.
So the state law requires that the district adopt a budget before the end of the year for the following year. And so there's always this December timeframe.
It's gonna be on the Thursday, you said?
Thursday, that's when we have it.
At 5:30?
It's at 5:30.
Okay.
December 8th.
I don't know.
Is that okay with the
Or
board?
is it okay with the board, everybody?
Have it.
Mhm.
The sooner the better.
Yes,
If not-
for this Thursday. Everybody okay with 5:30 this Thursday? Yes, okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, do we need a motion?
No,
No.
no ma'am.
No, we're good.
No.
Okay, item number 11, District Engineers Report. 11A, Nat Bank Technical Assistance Agreement, sewer hookups. Mr. Milo Salinas.
Good evening, board members. So this project here, the NatBank Technical Assistance Agreement project, this project is basically the connections to the homes from the Palmview sewer, basically connecting from the property line, connecting the homes, and decommissioning their septic tanks. So I'm providing basically an update on this. The project consists of over 1,800 service connections. 1,577 have been installed. Out of the 1,577, 1,505 are already connected and eligible to be billed. From the septic tanks for those particular connections, 1,493 have been pumped, and the spoils have been taken to dispose. Out of the 1,493 septic tanks, 1,484 have been fully decommissioned, where they already pumped it out, they fill it with sand, and they're basically decommissioned to where they're not able to be used any longer, which is a requirement of TCEQ. There is a section of the Palmview sewer project, the main lines, that is not substantially complete at this moment. We anticipate that there's 148 service connections that are not able to be connected at this time until that is completed. And additionally, there's 16 services that from the previous project, the service connections were left at a certain elevation and are not eligible to be adjusted by this project. So it's something that'll have to be done either in-house or by a separate contractor, not eligible for this particular funding. That's the status that we have right now.
What area is that, Milo?
It varies. We have on both sections, which is the area that south of the expressway, which we call Phase 1, south of the expressway, from Abram going east up to right before Bensten Palm. That's Phase 1, everything south of the expressway. And then Phase 2, what we call north of the expressway, from Abram all the way to Brayfogle, and then south of the expressway from Brayfogle to Bensten Palm.
Are those businesses or what are those?
No, this project is only eligible for residential connections.
Okay.
Yes.
Milo, do you have those numbers again?
Yes.
A copy of that?
So
I'd like a copy of that.
yes, I can send a copy to Pam, and that way
You
it can.
won't have to repeat yourself.
Yes. And as I mentioned, the project is fairly close to completion, but the last connections that are pending to be connected are the more difficult ones that either have a lot of concrete, very narrow, have to be hand dug. One thing that I did want to add on this project is that the funding for this project was $6 million. This project was under budget, so there's monies left over. We have designated other areas that are eligible based on the environmental, and they have been approved by NatBank. And the design for those construction plans is at about 90% complete. And NatBank would like for that project to get started as soon as possible. And we're hoping to be able to get started to where we will bring it back once the plans are completed and approved by AGUA SUD staff and by NatBank, then to request for advertise for construction as well. And
what is the timeline for this?
so the timeline is we'd like to complete the plans by January, and then request to advertise, and then from there it takes about 60 days to where we advertise, review the bids, and then bring it back to you with a recommendation, and then get it awarded.
Anything over the 6 million, what SUD is responsible for?
Anything, there's two areas. It's South Green Road, and then on Abram north, south of Business 83. There's several areas there that are being proposed to be connected, and then the other area is on Abram Road north of Business 83. We're breaking it down because there's only a certain budget that we have available that is basically 100% grant. And so what we're doing is we're breaking it into a base bid and an alternate. And that way, if between both of them, the base bid and the alternate, if it's over the budget that's available, then you have the opportunity to just approve award for just the base bid, which based on our estimates, we anticipate it being below the budget that's available. But we decided to include the other one as an alternate because you want to be able to connect as many homes as possible. It's grant money, so you want to use it, or
Yes.
you don't use it, they take it. Yeah.
Question, Milo. On South Green Road, is it by any chance those streets that have recently been paved by Palmview?
So, unfortunately, South Green Road, wherever the sections that were paved, it would be to connect. It would be to extend laterals to the streets that are there. So those streets in particular have not been paved, but as they connect into Green Road, it would be about 3 different patches that would have to be in place. And because of the previous experiences that we've had with the streets, we are proposing to use cement stabilized sand to backfill at those locations to avoid any settlements.
Yeah. I know. Okay. Any questions or concerns? No? Okay, let's move forward to 11B. Thank you, Bella. Appreciate it. I don't know if you're Havana?
Yes,
I'm sorry. B, Havana Water Treatment Plant Improvements Projects, Texas Water Development Board.
Yes, so this one here, just to kind of do a little brief summary on the projects. This is a project that AGUA SUD had gotten funding a while back, and it was repurposed for a reservoir behind the Havana plant. And right now, the funding is already in place, but we're in the environmental stage where the funding does not get released for design unless it's environmentally cleared to purchase the property. And so right now, that's what we're working on. We've had some correspondence with some of the entities, and we anticipate being able to complete the environmental within the next 60 days. And from there, we'd move into the design and then eventually construction, but it's a process. So that's the status update that we have at this time.
Questions?
Where's that location?
It is, the Havana Water Treatment Plant is just west of the City of La Jolla on the south side of the expressway. That's where the Havana Water Treatment Plant is. That plant is the one that serves Sullivan City and portions of La Jolla and Peñitas and up to the north, all the way to 107.
Thank you.
Further questions, concerns? Okay, 11C, Mendiola Water Storage Tank Project.
So the Mendiola Water Storage Tank Project, this is a booster station that is located at Palmira Mendiola Elementary School on Abram and Mile 5. This project has been substantially complete to where the system's already in use, but there's a punch list that was provided by the project engineer, and they're still working on that punch list. They have taken care of a lot of items. This past month, they took care of one of the venting of the building, and at this time, the plan that they have and the status update that I received from the design build team is that they're going to be meeting with the electrician and the Meldon Hunt project engineer inspector that does the electrical inspections, and then they anticipate working on and finalizing the driveway into the station and some minor cosmetic things throughout the holidays when schools closed. So we hope that this project is finally complete, by the beginning of the year.
How big is the tank?
I don't have that off the top of my head right now, but I can get back to you.
It was a $5 million.
200,000.
200,000.
I believe,
200,000 gallons.
yeah, I believe 200,000.
$200,000 gallon.
Yes.
200,000 gallon.
Gallon.
That sounds about right. I'm not 100% sure, but I can get that information to you.
So that's at what, like 90% completion?
I would say probably closer to 95.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? No? Moving forward, 11D, Texas Water Development Board Palmview Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project.
So this project is letter B of the executive session, so I'm not sure if that's going to get moved there. So.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Milo. Appreciate it. Okay, item 12, executive session. As provided by Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Sections 551.071-551.091, the Board of Directors may convene an enclosed executive session to deliberate, discuss, or consult regarding the matters listed below, and on motion and approval, any of the items set forth above. A, cost number C-3353-20I, SMB Infrastructure versus AGUA Special Utility District and the District Court of Hidalgo County, Texas, 398th Judicial District, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with the attorney. B, Texas Water Development Board, Palmview Sanitary Sewer Improvements Projects, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with the attorney. C, Performance Services, Inc., litigation, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. And D, cause number C-4514-22L, Jesus Ramon versus City of Palmview, Salazar's Utility Construction and AGUA Special Utility District, Incorporated, the 464th District Court of Hidalgo County, Texas, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. E, Valiant Energy Services, LLC, and electrical power contract with NG Resources, LLC, dated November 26, 2019. Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with attorney. F, road repairs on northbound El Pinto Road between Bluebird Street and Sullivan City Drive, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. Okay, at 7:21, I need a motion
I so move.
Second.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Ana Maria Perez and a second by Mr. Tijerina. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.